strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ? Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for
kind of animal?
If that was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in the
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that will be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the RoundTable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis Program. I'd love, that sounds like a...
Old, I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then...
That would say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows.
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now. And he ain't going to fight. I bet you anything. He's not going to fight somebody as good as John Wright. Thanks to those joining me live and those that will be joining me on the archive. This is the 186th edition of the Roundtable here on Ringside Reporter. Next, we will be on E-Style Boxing. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell button so you're notified every time we go live. We have a very interesting show for you today. As you know, we're going to be covering a lot of what happened in the 5-on-5. Queensberry went 5-0. They swept all that good stuff. Xander Zayas making a step up against veteran and former world champion Texera. So a lot to talk about. And we want to just dive in straight to the 5-on-5. Before we get there, of course, we'll be joined by Joa B from Inside Reporter, Gail from nyfights.com. Go to nyfights.com and check out her work. And Lyndon from Boxing Deep Dive joining us as well from Australia. And Lady Chen, who got a therapeutic use exemption to be off camera today. Shout out to Lady Chen from England.
Hello.
How's it going? All right, so let's go ahead and
hello, love.
Hello,
That sounds like a Boston guy trying to make an English accent, but it's okay. You know what I mean?
That's blasphemous. That's blasphemous.
Well, he's from New England, so it's the same.
It's the New England. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm close to New Mexico, so
yeah.
So let's get this one started. Jesus Christ! Somebody's correcting me. It's not 5-0. It's 10-0. Does it matter? I mean,
it's listen. It's 5-0 in matches. Okay, let's not get technical here.
We're getting carried away here.
Tomato. Come on.
No, that's right. So look, Joe, let's start with you.
Yes.
What was the biggest surprise for you? The one biggest surprise of the whole thing for you, and what's your overall feeling about now that you experience this 5-on-5, the concept?
Going in, I loved it, and there was a lot of surprises. I thought Richards was going to win. I was shocked that he lost, but the most shocking fight to me was Daniel Dubois and Hrgovic. And again, I was rooting for Dubois. I wanted him to win. I just didn't think he would, and I sure as hell didn't think he was going to win the way he did. And he had to dig down deep. He was getting hit with some shots early. And I saw him kind of get the feel for that right hand. He started slipping it, getting under it. And he grit his teeth and he dug down deep, as I said, and he stopped Hrgovic in stunning fashion, impressive fashion. So that was the bigger shocker for me. And I actually did not think Queensberry was going to be this dominant. I thought it was going to be a draw, and I mapped it out. I thought Sheeraz was going to definitely knock out Williams, with all due respect to him. I just thought he was going to knock him out. And I thought Zhang was going to knock out Wilder. I picked that. But again, the Dubois fight, because I thought Hrgovic was going to knock out Dubois, and I thought that Richards was going to win. I did pick Nick Ball, so I did pick that one. But the way I mapped it out, I had it ended up being 6-6, going in throughout my, if it went the way I predicted it would go, picking the fights, I would have been a draw. And I said that, but I didn't think it was going to be 10-0 like this. Absolutely not.
You want more of this concept?
Of course I do, but we're definitely going to get more of it too from what was being said. So,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Gail, biggest surprise of the night for you, and what now that you experience the concept watching it, what did you think? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, I am. I'm with you, Joe. Daniel Dubois came through with flying colors. And I'll tell you what that proves. It proves that activity matters because he's been far busier in the ring and he's faced far better opposition along the way compared to Hrgovic. Yeah, he has 2 losses on his record, but look what he got from those losses. He learned a hell of a lot. And you can argue the fight against Joe Joyce was an injury loss. You know, he was fighting through a broken orbital bone. That's a big ask. Usyk, yeah, he lost to Usyk, and no shame in that. Honestly, that loss is holding up nicely as time goes along. He put all that to use, and by staying busy, taking that fight with Jarrell Miller and getting that victory, it gave him a shot of courage, and he used all of that for the win on Saturday. And he's still just 26 years old. He is a young heavyweight. He is right back in the mix. So bless him. Good for him. He did everything he needed to do. He did it right. Great showing for him. I will say I was also surprised by Dmitry Bivol. Not that he won. I mean, come on. He was, 25-1 favorite by the time of the fight. But the fact that he decided to turn up the heat, get a little mad, and that was a message, airmail direct delivery to one guy, Artur Beterbiev. He wanted to show Artur that he means business. Now, whether that fight's going to happen or not, we'll see, but it certainly is at least booked for October 12th. I loved the team concept. I got a huge kick out of it. I mean, who among us a year plus ago would have thought that Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren would be joking around like they're old pals, ribbing each other, posting on social media together? They posted a kind of a wah-wah, video on the, flight on the way home. Hilarious. Frank is going to milk this as long as he can until the next tournament happens. There were a lot of people who sort of spat on it that I know, thought it was a gimmick. I think in the end it played really well. And there's a lot of other ways we could slice this: promoter versus promoter, country versus country, generation versus generation. There's just a million ways to do it. I love it. Bring it on.
All right. Lyndon, what you think of this concept? Do you want more of it? And what was the biggest surprise for you?
I love the concept. It's not something I would probably like to see all the time. It's probably one of those things that maybe once a year, or especially if we get Top Rank or Golden Boy or whatever involved, maybe it could be maybe twice a year. But love the concept in general. But I don't think it should be something that's brought up as some sort of league or whatever it might be. But I've got to say though that the Frank Warren pep talk to his charges in the theatre was a little bit cringeworthy, but I know DAZN probably put him up to that. It's not really a team sport, of course, it's individual, but I thought it was great. The surprise of the night for me, look, I must admit, even though Nick Ball winning wasn't a surprise, I expected Ford to win that fight, so I was a little bit surprised with that. Again, with Gail and Joe, I was probably surprised at the ease at the way Dubois went about it. Really impressed with him, by the way. I thought he put on a really good performance. But the biggest surprise to me was that in the main event, Deontay Wilder or Malik Scott, whoever you want to put the blame on, especially after the Joseph Parker fight, continued down the track of trying to box, trying to move to his right, taking out his effective weapon, which is his right hand, just playing into the hands of his opponent, Zhang. And I just could not believe that at that level that some adjustments wouldn't have been made after the Parker fight. He went in exactly the same way, did exactly the same mistakes that he did against Parker, and it was just an easy night for Zhang. And Wilder just looked like a defeated fighter even after the first round. So really disappointed in that, but surprised that nothing was made to adjust Wilder's style. I would have thought just wind him up, send him out there, and let's just get this landed and try and get him out of there. But he tried to box, and just was a disaster. So, but overall, love the card. Not so sure about the time over here. We've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's not overly great, but overall, love the concept.
Man, well, there you go. Lady Chan, biggest shocker of the night for you, if anything. And what do you think of the concept?
Yeah, I love the concept. I agree with sorry, your name, Mr. Australia, Lyndon. Sorry, Lyndon. But I think twice a year should suffice. Shock fight of the. I was totally shocked of how underwhelming Craig Richards fought. I was actually disgusted. Actually, I was on Twitter like, no, this is foul. It was so disappointing. We all know that Craig Richards is a slow starter, but I mean, after all of that talk back and forth of you and Willie Hutchinson, you would have thought he would have. This is also what you said as well, Gail. Activity. I know Willie Hutchinson hasn't been massively active at all times, but Craig Richards has just been plagued with stop starts, and I just think at the age of 34, his best days are behind him. He's never been a world champ. The last time we saw him looking really impressive, I guess, was Dubois, but he was still a bit of a slow burner there. That's just his signature tempo, I think. But the best time I've seen him look, it would have to go back 4 years, and that was to Bivol. So then he was like 30 years old, maybe 29. I think the best days are done. So I was totally shocked of how he kind of looked shocked to me.
Yeah, for sure. That's true. Look, for me, I actually like I saw a lot of Debbie Downers on Twitter, like what does it do for it's not like, what does it matter? I could see why Warren's happy, but why are people talking about the score? And I mean, just have fun, bro. Like what's, I just don't understand. Like, just have fun with it. It is what it is. Okay. It was for bragging rights. Yes. Okay. Like, it is what it is. Right. But I like the concept. I really do. But like Lyndon, I don't know if I want to see it that much. And the reason I don't want to see it that much is because it could get oversaturated. It could become like, if they keep doing it, it becomes watered down. And then at some point it is going to become kind of like, well, I don't really care. I just care about the fights. So it has to be some feeling that there's some high stakes involved. And it's not going to have a high stakes feel if you're doing it all the time. Right. I do want to see the top rank Golden Boy one. I think that would be great, personally. I personally would like to keep it promotional company versus promotional company, right? Because that's going to make the promoters work together and give us these great cards. I'm not against it or whatever, but the Mexico versus USA thing is, I don't know. I don't need that to see Crawford Canelo, for example. It's not something I need. But and I don't know if we want to make it too tribal or with nationality or something like that. You know what I mean? That's, you start touching a gray area of tribalism, and I don't know if I want to go there, right? But that's my opinion. But big surprise, and it was a pleasant one, was Daniel Dubois. Man, I was so happy for Daniel Dubois. And when I saw Herkovich huffing and puffing after 4 rounds, I'm like, is he tired? Like, is he gonna make it like past 7 here? What's going on? And Danny Dubois started to pour it on, and it was all she wrote. Eventually, ended up stopping. So, there we go. All right. So, let's talk about the close fight of the night. It was the only title fight of the night. Look, I thought Ford was going to win this fight. Okay, I thought he was going to win pretty easily, quite frankly. So I was surprised at how close the fight was. I think Nick Ball fought a phenomenal fight, and I scored it 7-5 for Ford, just for the record. But I could see it going to Ball too, so I'm not going to cry robbery or nothing like that. Plus, that's been overused here. So Nick Ball gets a decision. How did you see the fight? Who do you think won, right? And what's next for each guy. We don't need a round by round, but just general thoughts. I want to take a thought about the fight. Gail.
Had the same score you did, 115, 113 for Ford, but it was razor close. And yeah, we're watching it, not ringside. We're not sitting there as the judges. We don't know what angle they had. I had no problem with it. The truth is, Ford let it slip through his fingers. My dog agrees, by the way. In those last rounds, the corners were telling their guys, you need to win this last round. You need to win.
Nick Ball?
It's close. And Ball did more in the last round, in my opinion, than Ford did. And I could easily swung the fight to him. The truth is that Ford has also been killing himself to make 126. He's really struggled. And I get it. He wanted to hang on to that belt. It's time for him to move up. 130. A lot of opportunity there for him. Good timing for him to just start anew. I know there are people who want to see a rematch. I don't think it serves Ford well. It'd be a fun fight. But I'm not sure what the point is, because he'd win the belt. He needs to move up. So if he went for the rematch, wins the belt back, he's just going to give it up anyway. He might as well just move on, get himself a nice, tune-up fight at the new weight, and get down to business looking for a new strap.
All right. What's your thoughts on the fight?
My dog always agrees with me 100%.
It sounds like he disagreed with you, Gail.
Yes, I'm the one that feeds him. And he is, by the way, named Manny. Yes.
Manny.
After Fighting Pride of the Philippines. Yes.
That sounded like a bark of affirmation.
Very, very possible. Although
all I heard was, she's lying. It's not true. That's all I heard.
He is fully Mexican because he's a Mexican street rescue.
Oh, there you go. Pocket, thank you so much for that super sticker, brother. Much appreciated. Shout out to Pocket. You know what I mean? Lyndon, what you think of this fight? Ford, Ball, how did you score it? Who do you think won this fight?
Look, it was such a close fight, wasn't it? I did have Ford winning 115, 113, but when it was such a close fight, a lot of rounds could have went either way. I thought Nick Ball probably closed the fight out a little bit better, but just such heart from both guys. I agree with Gail. I don't see the need in a rematch. I would think that Ford would just go up to 130. There's not a lot there for him, but I hope it sets the example now that these guys that are killing themselves to make weight. It just hinders your performance sometimes. So for the sake of 3, 4, 5 pounds, just go up in weight. At the end of the day, it doesn't make that much difference. But look, I thought it was a great fight. Good way to kick off the card. I'm happy for Ball. Arguably, he got the rough end of the stick against Vargas. So it's good that he got another opportunity. And more importantly, he actually got the job done this time. So, there's always ups and downs. He had a down in his last fight. He's got the up this time. So good on him. And I think there's some good fights out there for him. I'm not quite sure he probably wants to go near Inoue, one of those guys at the moment. I think his style might play in Inoue's hands. But if he goes up, of course, that's Inoue. But some good fights out there for him. It was entertaining. And that was a really good fight to have on the card. Like all the fights on the card, it was such a great event from top to bottom. So,
Joe, I know you picked Nick Ball. You could do your victory lap.
Well, I mean, if I was scoring the fight, I wouldn't be able to do a victory lap. I had it a dead draw. And that 12th round could have, flipped it the other way, right? So I thought it was a razor close fight. I do believe Ray Ford will move up. And he did say, I believe on Twitter, it was a great fight. He said, I'd love to rematch him, but he'd have to meet me at 130. So eventually I think Nick Ball would probably go up to 130 and they could rematch. But I would like to see Raymond Ford fight someone like Shock Foster at 130. I think that would be a great fight. And I think the Lee Wood fight for Nick Ball would be a phenomenal fight. I think the styles would mesh very well. And I think that these two gentlemen have a bright future ahead of them with some great matchups down the road for each man.
All right. Okay. Lady Chan, how did you see this one?
Yeah, I didn't score it as such, but because I was also, when you're live, sometimes you're not truly observant. But it looked to me like I didn't mind the decision. It looked like it was kind of even. I felt that Nick Ball had better success at the first half of the fight, and I felt that Raymond Ford came on stronger at the latter ends of the fight because he busted up Ball's face pretty bad, started to catch him with, because a lot of the shots, when you look at it, were bouncing off of Ford's gloves at those times. First part of the fight, he was getting caught flush, but it just depends what the judges look at, I guess, because Ford was had some really nice body shots, and my prediction was Ford. I think maybe I did split or did I do UD or split, one of them. So I expected it to be a Ford win. But I mean, I'm not mad at it. It was good. It was a good fight for sure. And I did hear rumblings that that Raymond Ford was having problems making weight. But I was like, well, he's made the weight maybe. But when I saw him, he didn't look kind of, because you even have the volume on mute. He looked kind of lackluster to me. But I just thought maybe he'll be able to pull it out because of the Komatov fight, where he pulled it out the bag like literally 5-10 seconds before the whole fight was over, which was and that was amazing. So we thought kind of, if he has to pull it out, if he has to face some kind of adversity, he'll be able to pull it out the bag. Unfortunately he didn't, but you got to see the positive out of this. He can't make the weight anymore, so you may as well because if he had won the fight, that means you would have had you would have to do probably another title defense or vacate the belt. So it's better that the guy that can make the weight, he won the fight. You just move up and start doing your thing at 130. But yeah, great fight.
And Nick Ball is 5'2". If you're
Yep.
if you're in a way, right, you're like, I mean, I could start with that guy. I mean, I'm not, and it's an intriguing fight. Inoue versus Nick Ball at 126 intrigues me. Like, I actually think that's a good fight. Because I'm assuming at some point Inoue's going to go to 126, right? So I don't know. I mean, he still has to see Sam Goodman, but I don't know about that. But maybe he'll do Sam Goodman a favor and move up. but that's actually a fight. I was thinking after that fight, I was like, you know what? Nick Ball versus Inoue at 126, when Inoue's campaigning at that weight class, would be very, very interesting, quite frankly. So
will still be big for Inoue because he's really dense and thick. You have to kind of remember.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's thick. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, you know what he is? He's like, and a lot of people are making this comparison. He's a lot like Isaac Cruz, just Isaac Cruz just has more power and Nick Ball has faster feet.
Exactly.
I mean, those are the big differences there. You know what I mean? So, hey, I'm all for it. But I don't think we're going to get the rematch for Ford. No. I don't know. 130. I don't know if he beats the Shock Foster. I mean, but we'll see. We'll see what's next for him. But maybe he'll look better at that weight. But I thought it won this fight. He's got to move up. So what are you gonna do? All right. Let's talk about Daniel Dubois. All right, IBF champion, or interim champion, I should say. So now it looks like, and the rumors are all pointing towards Anthony Joshua versus Dubois in England, maybe Wembley Stadium. I think that's a massive fight. Lady Chan, I'll start with you. How big is that fight, and do you think that's the fight we're going to get?
I think so. I saw Frank Warren today on, I think, 1 Seconds Out or Box Nation, stating that should be the next fight for sure. Not sure if it's going to be for the full IBF. I don't know how they're going to do that because I'm hearing that my mind just went blank. I'm hearing that what's his name? He's just come out of my head. Usyk, sorry. Usyk, he's had an exemplary.
Can't forget Usyk's name. What's going on? Okay.
It came out. There's so many names in box. Sometimes you're like, dude. But it's that basically because he's been signed off, after the fight, that, you know, they have sometimes that kind of like temporary kind of little ban thing where they can't fight or spar for 30 or 60 days, depending on how hard the fight is. So he's kind of got away with it, why he's not going to be stripped, because he literally cannot like spar or do anything or do the title defense with anybody else. So I don't know how that's going to work if they're going to still fight for the full IBF title. I don't know. There's always different rules. It's always at their discretion. Who cares? But the fight with Anthony Joshua and Dubois will be massive in Wembley. Definitely, that will have to be probably. I would assume Wembley Stadium, not the arena, because the arena's 20,000 and the stadium's 80, 90 to 100,000. So I would assume that they would do it there. And, you know, in September, battle of the two Brits, the young lion meeting the OG. So, yeah, very interesting to see if Anthony Joshua could spark him out. I would say yes with this fight. But Daniel Dubois is doing really well. I root for him in what he does, because he was a bit of a quitter. So it's good to see that he's actually,
Whoa.
you know, hang that. Yeah, he was. It's good to see that he hang that hat up, you know. And it looks like the Don Johnson, Miami Vice, Don. What's his name? Don. What's his
Don Charles.
Don Charles. Yeah, I think they're lead up to this fight. I watched a lot of it, and he worked a lot on the mentals with Daniel Dubois, and I think their matchup has been amazing for Dubois. And I think he's coming into his manhood at, you know, 26. You see his personality coming out. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight. Let's do it. I can't wait. That's going to be definitely PPV.
Okay. Lyndon, what do you think of that matchup? Potentially for the IBF belt, potentially in Wembley in September. Should we count Dubois out in that fight?
Yeah, look, it obviously makes the most sense, doesn't it? Wembley Stadium, 90,000, possibly the IBF belt on the line. I know he's got the interim belt, but yeah, the two Englishmen together. And look, I think it'd be great just to have AJ back at Wembley. I know I don't really care who it's against, although it looks like it will be Dubois. But, you know, I know Saudi's been great. But to have AJ walking out there, I mean, it's just a sight to behold, isn't it? I'd love to be over there for one of those types of fights. But so it looks like Dubois, although don't count out Zhang. I think someone on my show yesterday made a good point that the viewership from China would be absolutely massive. They're still going to get 90,000 to Wembley. They're still going to have a massive amount of pay-per-views over there. But to get the Chinese audience as well might just come into consideration. Who knows? But yeah, as I said, it looks like all roads lead to Dubois challenging Joshua. I think as good as Dubois looked the other day, though, I would still back Joshua to get the job done there. I think he's another level above. But either way, whoever he fights, 90,000 Wembley, can't wait. I think it'd be great.
Okay, all right. So, Khabib, Dubois versus AJ. First of all, who will you be rooting for in that fight? That's number one. And second, should we count out Dubois? Like, what do you think of that fight?
I've always been a big Daniel Dubois fan, but I have to go with who I think's going to win. It's not who I want to win; it's who I think's going to win. And I do think AJ is a bit quicker. I think when he's consistent with his jab, he's really good at long range. And I think Daniel will have problems with that. He had problems with Usyk's jab. And I you know, this may sound controversial, but I put AJ's jab pretty close to Usyk's jab. You know, obviously Usyk changes levels a little bit different than Joshua, but when, like I said, that jab would be a problem for Dubois. I think that Joshua's a bit quicker, a little bit more explosive. And you could argue, I mean, hits harder with both hands, and he's a little bit more fluid with the combinations too as well. But I do like Daniel a lot, and I think he will make the fight interesting. He'll make the fight exciting. And I think the fight is massive. It's great to have a fight, you know, back in Great Britain again. That's what we need. I mean, all these fights in Saudi, got to go back to the homeland, Great Britain, my home away from home. So I'd be excited about that.
Okay. All right. And Gail, same to you. What do you think of the matchup? And what do you think Dubois' chances are in that fight?
Good matchup, the right two guys, the right place at the right time. Turki Al-Sheikh is putting the Saudi Riyadh season shows on the road. He's going to do the first one here in the United States in Los Angeles here in August. And I think he's got great interest in establishing a foothold a little closer to home in Great Britain. That fight will sell. That fight will draw a massive crowd. And for as much as we've enjoyed the Saudi cards from a matchup and entertainment standpoint, you know, the audience has kind of been, a little lukewarm. That would change considerably at Wembley Stadium. And how exciting to see that venue full for two native son fighters going at it with each other. I mean, you don't need to be British to be excited about seeing that for the sport. AJ is certainly the prohibitive favorite, but we all thought Hrgovic was going to beat Dubois. You know, Dubois is the younger, fresher, motivated fighter, makes it very interesting, and I think no matter who wins, makes it a lot closer than people would have predicted. Certainly before Saturday, and maybe even now. Love to see it. We already got the signals from AJ being ringside and, comments by Turkey. You can count on that fight happening sometime late fall.
All right. Shout out to Apple Type. Saludos to the OGs, Beeb and D-Style and Shan. Shout out to them and Gail and Lyndon as well. So shout out to everybody. You know what I mean? They deserve a shout out too, you know what I mean? But shout out to Apple Type. I actually like this fight. And since it was going to be Hrgovic and Hrgovic just lost, and I say do it. I don't think Dubois can beat AJ. I just don't. People are going to want to, I get it. Like it's heavyweight boxing and it could happen. One punch. I get all that. Right. But just the regular get it aside, I would heavily favor AJ in that fight, heavily, and I think I expect AJ to win that fight, and it's a perfect setup. Now, as far as Zhang, we hear a lot about the amount of viewers, and which is great, right? That over there in China, right? It's a lot, but what I want to know is how many of those viewers are like monetized viewers. How much money is coming out of those viewers is what I want to know, right? And the reason I'm asking that is because, okay, it's one thing to say, oh, look at all the viewers we get, right? A lot of people watch the WWE in India, but the WWE hasn't found a way to make money in India yet, right? Despite all the people that watch it, right? So that's I think there's a reason why Zhang, till this day, right, even though he just knocked out the guy who made up that quote, they haven't really invested in putting them in a card in China yet. I think there's a reason behind that. I don't know what it is, but hopefully they do it soon. I wouldn't mind AJ versus Zhang. Hell, if they do it in China, I would be for that as well. I'm all for it, right? But I don't know where Zhang. We're going to talk about Zhang in a little bit anyway, but I don't know where he goes from here. But Dubois AJ, I think it's the perfect matchup. The IBF's involved, and I think it makes all the sense in the world. That's a lot of money. And somebody just said, I was going to say it, but I think Batman Boxing said in the chat, it gives me like that Lewis Bruno vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get those vibes. I'm just saying. And AJ is Lennox. All right. Yeah. MAW in the building. Hello, boxing fans. Roundtable and chat. Smash the like button, please, folks. Hit the like button, guys. All right, it takes 2 seconds. And like it says, Big Bang, Zhang, you hit the bang on the like button. All right. Don't hit it 5 times, just 1 time. All right. You're not Queensberry. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about Amo Williams here. Or not Amo Williams, but after destroying Amo Williams, Sheeraz, how do you think he fares against the top middleweight guys right now? Like if they were put him in the ring right now with Adamas, Lara, Janibek, how do you think he would fare in those fights? Joe, to start with you.
I think he'd fare very well, and I think I would favor him versus all of them. That jab is very, very heavy-handed, and the thing about tall guys, when they have a little bit of a mid-range game and they can hang on the inside, have that variety of being able to use all those ranges, I think that's a problem for a lot of guys. And in those fighting in those 3 ranges, he can still generate some power. That uppercut was the punch of the night for him, really. Well, obviously the jab too, but the uppercut was the one that did the most damage. Those were the punches that really Amo Williams got shocked by and stunned by and buzzed by. And Janibek, I don't think he'll have the speed to be able to deal with Sheeraz. I think he's a little bit slow-footed in comparison to Sheeraz, and I think he doesn't have the hand speed as well. I just think being 6'3" and just having that wide array of ability, right, I think is going to be a problem for these guys, because all those guys like Adamas, he's a guy that's a mover. He likes to go in and out. He's more of a mid-range guy. I don't think he'll be able to hang with Sheeraz from the outside. And Janibek's more of a guy who's kind of a stalker type. He's a pressure guy, likes to kind of walk you down. He's going to have a problem, being able to try to work his way in on the inside with Sheeraz. So I just think all these guys would have some problems against the versatility of Sheeraz and not only that, but the physical attributes as well, with the speed and the power and being heavy-handed with everything he throws.
Okay. Lyndon, Sheeraz against the top middleweights in the world right now. How do you think he would fare?
Yeah, I really like the look of Sheeraz, and I thought he fought a really good fight. He's such a big middleweight, isn't he? And I thought Amo Williams had his success earlier in the fight, but Sheeraz, that whole fight, just beautiful jab, beautiful poise, balance, technique, just a very, very well-schooled fighter. Very cool as well. He didn't really lose any composure during the fight. Didn't gas at all. I was really, really impressed. Now, how does he go against the top line guys? Look, I think he would fare very well. I would still maybe back Janibek at this stage. But Lara, Adamas, whoever it might be, I think he would match up very, very well against those fighters. And it looks like he'll get his opportunity, won't he? So, yeah, very, very impressed by him. And I think we'll be seeing him in some big fights very, very soon.
Okay. All right. And Gail, Sheeraz versus the middleweight division. How do you think he fares?
I think he does very well. The middleweight division is looking for a star. It is really moribund. If you look down the aisle at middleweight, you see a breeze and leaves blowing in the wind. There's just nobody there, right? I think he beats Adamas with ease. I think he beats Lara with ease. I do think Janibek presents the biggest challenge because of his power. And his fundamentals are so sound. So he would be the first guy I want to see Sheeraz in the ring with. But let's see how bold he is and whether he's willing to test himself, maybe take a loss, learn a ton from it, and come back at him. I wouldn't hate that. He's got impeccable timing because there's so much opportunity for someone to step up in that division. He's fortunate to just be the right guy, right age, right weight, right time.
That's right. That's right. Lady Chen, Sheeraz versus the rest of these middleweight cats. How does he do?
Yeah, that was a prediction I got right. I picked him to stop Amo in round 9 to 11. So I just knew it was going to be too big for Amo. Like Beeb said, 6'3", rangy, but can fight in the inside, powerful. He's had I want to say at least 13, 14 consistent stoppages. So that's the level that he's at. But they were evenly yoked though. Basically there was 17 or 16 fights kind of each. So this was generally a 50-50 fight. Frank likes to kind of pace his fighters slowly but surely. So he's not kind of like an Eddie Hearn who kind of fast tracks his fighters and kind of throws them in the fire quite quickly. But I think he's ready for maybe one more, just a a step up from Amo, obviously, because Amo is kind of like on his level. So I think maybe just get his feet wet with someone just like maybe like a fringe world champ, a fringe world champ or a former champ, and then go, yeah, I feel that he beats Carlos Adamas. I feel that he beats Janibek. The power, yeah, would be interesting to see. Someone that's just going to come forward, pressure him with a lot of power. But I do feel that he's just got the advantage of being 6'3" at 160 pounds. Probably when he rehydrates, he still looks kind of slender when he rehydrates, but he was much bigger than Amo. Probably just came in outside of the 175 limit and probably came in as a small cruiser. So you have to take that on board. So yeah, I think maybe just one more kind of get my feet wet before you just throw him at, a world title fight. Yeah, but great fight. Amo just kept getting caught with that jab, man. The jab and the uppercut, and he just broke him down. And like, I knew that is what Hamza Sheeraz is great at: breaking you down, picking you off, and then he just knocks you out or stops you.
Of course, he was the team captain, which got those 4 points for Queensberry, and that was pretty much the beginning of the end. And I will say this: Amo ran out of ammo very early in that fight, and
he needed to load. Yeah.
And that jet, it's going to be hard for anybody to get past that jet. It's
just in all fairness, Amo is no longer using Amo as his moniker. He prefers
Tiger.
Yeah.
Tiger. Oh God.
But,
I don't know, man. I went to the zoo earlier. Those tigers are like, I don't know, man.
That tiger didn't have too many teeth. Amo's been through a lot. Austin. Let's call him Austin. Austin's been through a lot. Let's hope he learned something. He was fighting a much bigger guy on a very big stage. Yeah, well, let's not write him off just yet.
No, he's good.
No, look, I mean, obviously, yeah, like, not going to write him off, but I just think maybe this loss, it will age not so bad if Sheeraz has the success I believe he's going to have. And it's like, well, I lost, but I lost to that guy. Like, you see that guy? You see what he just did to that dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like that. But we'll see, Big Bang Zhang, all right, from China, all right? Although I think he lives in Jersey, so it is what it is. So we're going to claim him too. He's not getting any younger, ladies and gentlemen. He's definitely up there in age. The hourglass is there, right? So what are we going to do here? I saw the post-fight press conference. Warren mentioned about, we're going to try to see if we can get a fight over there in China. I hope they do. I think he deserves it at this point. I hope they do a big event in China, but what's the next move here? I don't even know. I want to know if you guys have any ideas. Gail, what's next here? What should they do?
There was a lot of argument about the outcome of the first fight between Zhang and Hrgovic. I thought Hrgovic, he was the winner. I thought Zhang took that fight. They both had losses this weekend. Get them both back in the ring, hot off their losses, just like we did with Zhang and Wilder, and run it back. Makes a lot of sense. They're both available. They both came out of their fights. Like I say, down a loss. The only challenge is that Hrgovic's got some cuts that are going to need to heal. So he's going to need a little bit longer. So the only wrench in that plan is, he might just might not be available. That leaves Zhang looking for a dance partner. He's a big heavyweight. You can't just throw anybody in with him. You have to throw one of the bigger guys in against him. So there'll need to be some thinking done if they want to put them in the ring again on the normal rotation that we're coming to expect, which is probably late fall, towards the end of the year. That'd be my first choice if Hrgovic's injuries heal quickly enough to allow it. If they don't, then they're going to need to think about it and figure out if anybody down the line a little bit wants to tackle him. Maybe somebody like Jalalov might be willing to step in there, which would be a very interesting fight.
Okay. Babe, talk to us. What should they do with him here? Because he's kind of between a rock and a hard place. He's successful, but a lot of guys are occupied.
Well, I mean, I've always said the Joseph Parker rematch would be a great fight. I think that'd be a natural. It was a majority decision loss. He came in a little bit heavy. He said he underestimated Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker has 2 big wins in a row. He's edging up there towards the top of the heavyweight rankings himself. So you're not going to be able to get somebody like what happened there? Yeah, you're not going to be able to get somebody like Daniel Dubois or Joshua or Fury or Usyk. Oh, hold on, Jesus Christ! So you're not going to be able to get someone like that. So I think the only guy left would be. What's going on here? Just wait 1 second.
Joe, I can't hear you.
Give me 1 second. I got a problem here.
Somebody's cracking away. I'm going to jump in while Joe's having his technical issues. And props to Juan in the chat, reminding me that Ajit Kabayel is available for Zhang. That's an interesting fight. You know, there you go. He has really impressed me. I don't know if he's quite ready, but it would be a super changing of the guard kind of fight. You know, younger, fresher fighter against, the OG, the big guy. Trying to remember what Kabayel weighed in at for these last couple of Saudi fights. I mean, he's probably nowhere near Zhang's size. And Zhang has been working, not many heavyweights work with a nutritionist, but he's been working with Chris Algieri. And I do think it made a big difference. He still came in pretty big, but, if you got a good eyeful of him, he did appear slim down, a little tighter, a little more muscular. So that's certainly working for him, and it may have improved his stamina just a little bit.
Go ahead, Joe.
That's another good one. Ajit Kabayel, I forgot about that because that's another guy who's coming off two great victories as well. You know what? That may actually be the next move because you get a fresher opponent, right? And that guy needs a fight too. And Turki Alashik said he was going to bring Kabayel back. That's a great fight. That's a good point, Gail. I think that could definitely be the next one.
Yeah. Oh no! All props to Juan in the chat who reminded me of that. I did just check on Kabayel's last 2 fights. So against Sanchez, he weighed 238. Against Makhmudov, 241. So I mean, he's in the neighborhood at least. He is a shorter heavyweight though. He's 6'3". So that's big for an interesting matchup.
For sure. Do you have any final thoughts, Joe?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Lyndon, so as far as Zhang, if you want to dust off the promoter hat and put it back on, like what should be done with Zhang here?
Well, look, it was obviously a great win, but it's an interesting time in the heavyweights, isn't it? Because when you really look at it, I think out of all the heavyweights that really deserve that chance is Joseph Parker above all these guys. But the problem is, he's the Fury fight. Well, Usyk and Fury, of course, are tied up for the next fight, and who knows, maybe it's number 3 after that, or worst case, it'll be to fight Joshua. He's already fought Joshua in the past, so he's really, unfortunately, out in the cold a little bit at the moment, Joseph Parker. As for Zhang, maybe there's a rematch; those guys can fight, but does Joseph Parker want to go back over old ground? He's already beaten Zhang, but in the current climate, maybe he mightn't have a choice if he wants to keep relevant. I do like the Kabayel fight as well. He's out there, but it's just a really interesting time, isn't it? Because you've got probably the big 3 have really just taken hold of the division now. As I said, Usyk and Fury have got business at the end of the year and possibly after that. Throw Joshua in. Those 3 could tie up the heavyweight division for the next sort of 18 months to 2 years. Who knows? But all that aside, I suppose it's up to the others to now scramble to see who's next. But I think maybe Parker and Zhang makes the most sense, but maybe they wheel out Dillian White or someone like that. I don't know, but Who knows? But at least we're getting the big fights anyway. Maybe Hrgovic is in the equation as well. But yeah, it's just an interesting time for the heavyweights, isn't it? But your guess is as good as mine.
Lady Chan, Big Bang Zhang. What do you think? What do you think should happen here?
Not sure. I was saying that I think Caballero, when we was on Julius's space, I'd rather see him just fight like maybe Frank Sanchez, just coming off a loss, he's coming off a win. Maybe try put him over there. I'm not a big fan, never have been. I'm never a big fan of rematches unless they really warrant them. If I was Joseph Parker, I wouldn't then go in for another matchup with Zhang. He's doing very well. He's lucky he survived the first fight, to be honest. 2 knockdowns. I wouldn't risk it. It's silly that Joe Joyce did it. Fair play to him, but there's no need for him to rematch him at this stage. Unfortunately for Zhang, Joseph Parker. That's Zhang's not Joseph Parker's problem. You're gonna have to go and figure it out, bud. I'm not putting myself at a detriment just to give you a fight. There's other people that maybe Parker could, go and fight Ajit Caballero himself, or if he needs to stay busy. That's a great fight. But with Zhang, he's kind of like in no man's land. I doubt Jalilov will be able to fight Zhang because Jalilov is back in the Olympics. He's re-entered back into the amateurs, so he's not available. So that marks him off the list. He's in the Who Needs You club, unfortunately. And I think why he hasn't had maybe any big fights in China is because although he's an old guy and he's, double Olympian, I just don't think there's a lot of Chinese heavyweights that could, that they could have domestic kind of big fights like that. There's not a lot of lads that are in China his size and height and and weight. So you really need the right dance partner from across the Atlantic to be able to bring over there to make that a fight that's worth putting the money behind that fight. And a Joshua fight would be great. I'm not opposed to that. Joshua's beaten and stopped him in the Olympics. So Joshua's fought him, but that was in years ago. So I guess that would be a good fight. But Joshua, I guess he's on his path to do the IBF thing. So but the Jalilov thing would be great because he punches through people, but he's just not available. So I'm not sure who you'd really match him up. Maybe a Dillian White. Would Dillian want that? I think they've got Dillian White's got trash footwork. He could get I don't know. I'm going to say Dillian White. Let's give him Dillian White. Let's go.
Okay. Man, you must not like Dillian White.
No, I just told the truth.
Man.
She's giving Dillian White a payday. What do you mean? That's nothing wrong with that. Guy needs to get some fights in, right?
Yeah, give him Dillian White. Yeah. He's decent, but he was a former kickboxer, so they always never have good footwork when they come into boxing, usually. And he doesn't have good footwork.
So I actually do like the Dillian White fight as a possibility, but I just think it's like a step back, in my opinion. It's like he's taking a step back, and like Dillian White's like the last time I saw him was laid out by Fury, and I don't know if he ever got up. I mean, and then he popped dirty before the fight with AJ, right? So I just feel he's kind of like I think it's a good matchup. It'll be fun while it lasts. I will say that, but I don't know if I want to see Dillian White kind of hold Zhang back. I think Zhang's old right now. I mean, I'm just saying, like, he's got to make some moves. And to me, the move has to be something that's going to keep him, like, it's either going to get him closer to the world title shot, right, or make him a lot of money, right? It's either one of those two things. If I'm Joseph Parker, I'm going to be honest, I ain't rematching Zhang unless there's a lot in it for me. Like they're going to have to pay Parker a lot of money to rematch Zhang, right? Because the way, if I'm Parker, it's like, okay, y'all roll me off against y'all roll me off, period, after I lost to Joe Joyce. Okay, I come back, right? Long road back. I beat, when everybody says I was going to get knocked out, that this guy was told, he was asked by the interviewer, right? he was asked, are you going to be sleeping in your pillow or something like that? And Mary Parker got mad, like, don't ask me stupid questions, right? He was written off in that fight. He was written off on the Zhang fight. He pulled up the big upset twice, and now I think he's in a position where why risk it again, right? With nothing on the line other than give me a lot of moolah, or are we guaranteed a title shot if I rematch him? Or like, what is it? Is it an eliminator? It would have to be something in it for me if I'm Joseph Parker, quite frankly, in my opinion, right? But I actually like Zhang versus AJ, like, better than Dubois versus AJ. I actually like the fight better. I think it's a very intriguing fight, quite frankly.
No, not for us.
Yeah.
No, man. We're on Dubois, Joshua. Trust me.
I just think you don't want AJ to get in the ring with a big bang.
Why are you ruining the Great Britain matchup? We want to bring a big fight back to Great Britain
because y'all just want an easy win for AJ with Dubois. Like, I think.
Well, come on now. I mean, I think AJ would beat Zhang too. AJ would beat Zhang too.
Beating Zhang as well. You already beat him before, but I mean, saying that for us as Brits to have two Brit, because we've already we're not sure.
It's a long time coming, D-Style. You're not even giving us our respect.
We're already not sure if we're going to get a Fury and AJ. So let's have, we would like to have our two British brothers fight each other, two heavyweights. For us, that's great. Sorry, America, if you don't like it, but for us,
D-Style, we've been waiting for this for a long time.
Needs like the boss, look, in the words of Usyk, Daniel, you're young. You could dream. Right? Remember he gave him that speech?
We don't want to hear that.
He's got all the time in the world to watch.
We don't want to hear that. He's got a big fight with Joshua on the table. He's not.
If I were to put the hourglasses together, Dubois still filled with sand. Like, it's got like the whole thing of sand still.
Joshua could still fight Zhang. He could beat Dubois. How will you know that he can't pick Zhang as a voluntary title defense or something?
Zhang will eventually get his shot. Just won't be right away.
Okay. And I do want to see Parker versus Usyk at some point, just to see
how
that plays out. But it's what it is. Okay. But the You Can Dream speech was cringe. What do you mean? I thought that was a great speech by Usyk. He looked at Daniel and he said, "Daniel, you're young. You could still dream." That inspired me. Like, when he said that, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, I signed up for 4 hours overtime the next day.
Do you play that over and over again, like before you get
100%? 100%.
Sounds like you like that speech.
That's right. Let's go ahead and talk about the talk. Deontay Wilder. We all saw what happened, right? He got railroaded. I mean, just right. You ever see those cartoons that when they run over like a character, they're just like laid flat? Like that was Wilder. You know what I mean? This fight. And like most would agree that this is the end of the road, right? He himself said, "This may be my last fight if I don't win." Now it's up to him, and prize fighters always change their mind, and money always brings people back. But assuming this is the end, what do you think is his legacy in boxing, right? How will you personally remember him, and how do you think the general public will remember him? Lady Chan, let's start with you.
Well, I think Wilder, hang him up. Fury's on his way out as well. They both kind of were two peas in a pod. Both, in my opinion, they was on my expose list to be exposed of how not the best that they ever was, the two of them. Resumes thinner than an anorexic woman. It's terrible resumes for the two of them. So I'm quite happy to see him go, because if he stays any longer, these knockouts are just gonna be very frequent. I mean, he's been protected throughout his whole career, his whole entire career. He'll go down in history as one of the most protected heavyweights in our era, for sure. In maybe in all of boxing. Like he's fought nobody, and as soon as he was forced to, and he was goaded out with the Saudi money, he was exposed. So the Fury win hasn't aged well, just because Fury said, other than him, nobody else beats Wilder. Joseph Parker enters the chat. Zhang demolishes him, which I said he would. I said within 5 to 7 rounds. Did it in what, round 5 or 6 or whatever he did it in. His fans are terrible. So I mean, ranking him as an all-time heavyweight, it's pathetic. You wouldn't rank him as an all-time top 10, an all-time top 20, an all-time top 30. You just wouldn't. You could put 29 other guys, better heavyweights than him for sure. I'm not even sure. I don't care about this 10 title defense rubbish. I'm not even sure that he even gets in the Hall of Fame. Definitely not first ballot. Just because he made these 10 title defenses, 8 of those were voluntaries. The 8 that were voluntaries were people like Dominic Brazil, Eric Molina, people that other fighters had used to build themselves up, coming up. I just think he's just got one of the worst resumes in modern history out of boxing, him and Fury. So if he goes, he takes his torrid fans who are already out now saying that Wilder took a dive against Zhang, and that's like his people are just pathetic. So the quicker he leaves, unfortunately, he's done the best that he can do with someone with limited skills. I give him utmost credit. Limited skills. He started boxing late, placed 3rd in the Olympics, bronze. He's a multi-millionaire, generational wealth. What more could you ask? Now, we don't need to see you getting on a human to human level. Let me take away that I just find what he's done just annoying in his career. Just as a human to another human, I wouldn't like to see him like damaged beyond repair or killed in the ring. People are always going to outweigh him. 214, 15 pounds soaking wet. Let's just call it a day, bud. High five. Thanks for what you done. Catch you on the flip side.
Damn. Well, that's a good start, right? So shout out to Lady Chan. That's her opinion. Joe Abib, Wilder's legacy in your view, and how do you think the general public, even if you disagree with that, how are they going to remember Deontay Wilder?
It's pretty interesting because I do think there is going to be a large group of people that are going to echo Lady Chan's sentiments. They're going to agree with her, and then they're going to be his diehard fans that will, kind of still try to find ways to pump him up. He did get the most out of his ability, but in reality, here's the thing. At least you could argue Joshua and Fury, they have a win over a Hall of Fame fighter in Vladimir Klitschko. Joshua and Fury were unified champions, right? They also won the world title on multiple occasions. And then you get Usyk, who emerged. So it's going to be tough. I think he will get in the Hall of Fame, but I agree with Lady Chan. I don't think he gets in first ballot. I know the 10 title defense is going to be looked at, but again, there is no, breakthrough fight there, right? And when he did step up against Fury, when he did step up, against, I guess the other step ups would be Zhang and Parker, right? You saw what happened. And you could argue about the age and this, but Usyk's 37, Joshua's 34, Fury's going to be 36 soon. And, they don't look like Wilder does right now. And you could argue the 2 fights, at least the last 2 fights with Fury definitely took a lot out of him. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think he overachieved with the amount of, ability he had. So he made the most of what he had, but that doesn't necessarily measure up with guys like Joshua, Usyk and Fury. So he's going to always be behind those guys who are going to be looked at higher than him. So he'll get in, but I don't think he'll get in first ballot. And you know, it is what it is. You know.
Okay. They do call the boxing ring the chamber of truth. So it is what it is. Lyndon, Wilder's legacy, in your opinion, how do you think the public at large is going to see him?
Well, judging by the chat there's a lot of conflicting views about Deontay Wilder. But look, I think Wilder falls into the category of one of those guys who very, very limited fighter, but squeezed the absolute most out of himself and his career to get where he got to. Now, is he one of the greatest heavyweights of all time? Absolutely not. Nowhere near it, to be honest. But you have to give respect to the guy who is limited as he was technically. I think he only started at 20 years of age or whatever, a couple of years experience, went to the Olympics, won a bronze medal, won the title. And regardless of who he fought with the belt, he still had 10 title defenses. I know a lot of them were questionable, but I just look at him as a fighter who, as I said, got the most out of his career. I don't think he probably got the best out of himself in those big fights by the team he had around him. I don't think he was matched overly great or trained particularly great. But look, I think you've just got to give him respect for what he's done in the sport. But where does he rank? Look, Joe said about the Hall of Fame. Look, he'll probably get in. Does he deserve to? I don't probably think so, to have him beside some of those all-time great fighters. I don't think he does. But by his resume, maybe he does. But all that aside, look, full credit to him for what he's done. Yes, he was exposed when the level of competition went up. But for someone that I thought in Tyson Fury, who was so much more levels above him as far as his ability goes, he almost had Fury gone in all three fights. So we have to give him credit for that. And unfortunately, I think after those Fury fights, he was mentally checked out. And I think we saw that in the Parker and the Zhang fights. But let's just hope that's it for him. But full credit to what he's done in the sport. And hopefully, he has good luck in the next chapter of his life.
All right. Gail, his legacy in your mind, and how do you think, what do you believe will be the consensus thought of Wilder in general?
It does need to be pointed out how Wilder came into the sport. Very late start. Let's remember, the reason he started boxing was to make money because his young daughter was critically ill and he needed to be able to afford her care. That's all he cared about at first. And probably he ends up in the Olympics and medaling, and it jump starts his career. He's tall, he's charismatic, he's American, he's a heavyweight. There's a lot of places you can go with that. Unlike some of the other people here, given that kind of start, given the resources he had, I think he, in large part, maximized his skills as much as he could, which in theory were limited to a tremendous amount of power and the attraction he brought, for audiences. When it comes to the end of his career, it needs to be now. There is no point in him continuing. He's made generational wealth. I'm sure he went home, humbled, unfortunately, but with a big darn addition to his investment portfolio, courtesy of the Saudi government. He's got a long life ahead of him. He has 7 children who need him at home. He needs to focus now on his family. He's said very candidly that he has invested his money well. He does not need to get back in the ring. He needs to stay as healthy as he can for the remainder of his life. There's no need for him to give it up. I'm amused by some of the comments in the chat, various theories about what happened to Wilder, and some of them are pretty out there. You know what, folks? He's a shot fighter. He is the definition of a shot fighter. He knows what to do. He knows what he needs to do. His mind cannot physically execute the instructions it is trying to give. And that is the definition of, the nerve damage and, between the brain and the muscles and all of the body parts that need to work in concert with that. They're just not talking to each other anymore. And it sets himself up for damage. He doesn't need to do it. it'll be interesting to see 5 years down the road. Let's say he retires, so it's 5 years before he becomes eligible as a fighter in the modern category. You know, it is a list that are members in the Boxing Writers Association of America, and I'm one of the voting members. You know, we get this roster, and the top 3 of a very long list of worthy names. You know, we have to bring it down to 3. We vote for 5 and the top 3 get in. He's not going to make it on the first ballot. But a lot of the luck of somebody on the borderline getting in is who else is on the list in your generation, right? Who is there? I will say candidly, this year's list was a little thin with a lot of people very much on that bubble where I'd see Wilder sitting in the future. And maybe 3-4 votes down, he does get in because the cream of the crop of this current era retiring now that will be in potentially his class, have all gotten in ahead of him. A good example of a fighter like that who has gotten in, didn't get in the first vote. I don't think the first 2 was Timothy Bradley Jr. He finally, once some of these guys were skimmed off the top, he did get the votes. I think that's what will happen to Wilder if he gets in. For me, I'd have to think long and hard about voting for him, but he accomplished exactly what he set out to do. If you think back then, he needed to make a living for his family. He needed to provide the life-saving treatment for his daughter. He did that. He did all that. And in the end, honestly, what else really matters? I can't think of, other than extrinsic rewards, for our entertainment, but he's achieved what he set out to do.
So I'm going to be straightforward with everybody. I think Wilder should be a Hall of Famer. And people are going to say, what? Like, it's not, Hall of Famer doesn't mean all-time great. Like, and I think people mix the two. And the way I would say it is this: if you had to write, like somebody told you to write a book about the last 20 years of boxing, right? You can't write that book without Deontay Wilder's name. You can't do it. Like, you can't write about the heavyweight division in good conscience and leave him out. You just can't do it. He was very relevant to the history of an era in boxing, right? And there was a time where him and AJ were the consensus 1 and 2 in the division. And they fought a lot of the same guys, quite frankly. I don't critique the heavyweights that heavy on the resume, especially modern day heavyweights, because the heavyweights in general, no offense to the division or anything, but it's a very weak division compared to the other divisions. There's not a lot of like list of names. It's not 115 pounds where you have like, the first top 10 guys are all like solid, like really good world-class dudes. It's not really like that. Klitschko had a long reign, and a lot of those names, like Pianeta and all those Eddie Chambers and guys like that, were the dudes on his resume. Granted, he did get like the David Hayes, but I question how good was David Hayes as a heavyweight. He did get, there was some Povetkin, I suppose, which I guess you could say was a decent win. But that was in the course of a long time. And granted, look, I think Vladimir Klitschko had a much better resume than Wilder. I'm not arguing that. But I'm just trying to put things in perspective when it comes to the resume. I think with Wilder, it's always going to be, was he exposed or was he shot? By the time he made it to Saudi Arabia. That's going to be the debate. That's going to be what people are going to argue, quite frankly. A lot of people that don't like Wilder, they might say, no, he was always like that. It's the same as Zach Wilder. That's the same Wilder I saw in 2017. I'm going to tell you right now, this is just my opinion. My opinion isn't better than anybody else's, but Deontay Wilder of 2017 knocks Zhang out. Like, I'm pretty sure in saying that. Like, there was instances where I was like, damn, this guy can't pull the trigger. Like, something is not right. I just think that specific Wilder was different. I do think, you know, he was really good at one point. Was he limited? Yes, he was a puncher, is what he was, and somehow along the way he lost his identity. Right? I think something that's going to be a cloud, a dark cloud over his legacy. It's going to be Glovegate. It's going to be all the excuses. It's going to be the conspiracies that his fan base felt they were doing to help him, but you actually brought it as a detriment to him. And a lot of people that feel the way I feel about Wilder, right, that he is a shot fighter, they're not going to come to bat for him because of Glovegate. They're just not, right? And I think that's a shame. I would put Deontay Wilder against Zhang 2017, 2018, 2019 any day. I think he puts Zhang out. All right. Like if people would disagree with me, I think he knocks Parker out too around that time. But that's not the same Wilder anymore. I think he took a beating in that second fight with Fury. That was a beatdown. That was a beatdown. And I think that third fight was further beatdown. And it's crazy to me that he got so angry at Mark Breland, which I understand. You know, he's a fighter and he wanted to keep going, but Breland probably saved his life that night in that second fight. He was getting beat down, right? And yes, I do think one fight, of course, a fight could take a lot out of you. And I think that's what happened with Wilder. And after that trilogy with Fury, he was done. Should it be Hall of Fame? I would say yes. That's just my opinion. The record is like 10 title defenses. He was one of the champions, and he was one of the top guys for years. I agree with a lot of the arguments people make that perhaps he was quote unquote protected or whatnot. We had one of his matchmakers on here admit that they did kind of keep him away from punches for a while because of the suspect chin. So I'm not saying none of that's true, but I still think, you know, I'll put him in Hall of Fame. You know, Arturo God is in Hall of Fame. Why can't Wilder be on the Hall of Fame? And one last thing. You can't deny that Deontay Wilder brought excitement to this division, right? For the longest time, I didn't give a shit about heavyweight. I followed it, but I didn't care about it. You know what I mean? And for me, like, he did bring some excitement to the division. So did AJ. It's not just him, but you can't deny, at least from my vantage point, that a Deontay Wilder fight was an exciting fight to watch. I know Malinaji, a video came out of his earlier. We said he was you can't blink. You couldn't blink. You know, at any moment you could just land that bomb and it was over. And that is over. That's done, right? But that's just my opinion. Anybody else have any thoughts before we move on?
I really don't think that we should be basing any kind of Hall of Fame vote on ridiculous fan conspiracy theories. End of discussion.
Yeah, I agree with that. Lady Chan? I thought I saw you on mute there.
Yeah. Well, I just think Hall of Fame discussions kind of before the fighters actually ended their career is that we need to wait because they're still creating possibly legacy defining you know, a lane. So let's just wait until they, you know, we could probably
it's very subjective. It's very subjective, and people are going to have different criterias. Sure. And that's why they have people a wider range of people voting. And a lot of times, many fighters don't get in first ballot. Many of them don't.
I mean, look, Vitali's in, right? What's Vitali's biggest one? Is it Sanders? Is that his top one?
That's a tough one, man. It's a tough one.
Like, if I do the same thing to Vitali that people do to Wilder, who'd he beat? I mean, Janibek, or not Janibek. What was his name? The guy that moved up from 175. I could do the same thing to Vitaly Klitschko, and I could be, is Areola one of his biggest wins?
Yeah, I mean,
I think that era was different though, like because Wilder could have fought Klitschko and he didn't. could have fought Vladimir, and both Joshua and Fury did. So
Yeah, that's the
and
whole.
then and Fury became champion twice. Joshua became champion twice. They both unified titles.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. He'll get in, but I don't think it'll be first ballot. That's all.
I mean, I'm just saying, like I think Vitali's all. I'm not arguing that he's not.
Yeah.
I do believe he is.
He's my favorite.
But if I looked at if I wanted to look at it with a microscope, I could pick apart and come up with a reason why Vitali shouldn't be in it too.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a good argument, but
his second best win is probably Arreola, and Severn beat Arreola, knocked him out.
Yeah, you know what? I would argue again, you got to put fights in context, that his win over Adamas at the time was an excellent victory. Adamas only had one loss at that point in 2011, and that loss had been to Chad Dawson. I mean, go figure. So that was a significant win. And again, let's think about the era, the context.
Yeah.
I think he's like a 10-1 favorite, Gail.
He was voted in with. That I cannot emphasize, if you haven't seen a ballot, how important it is, because there isn't a point system. It's a sliding scale. You're going to pick 3 people off a ballot of probably 35 names. And if none of the other names just jump out, it is a rare ballot where a Floyd Mayweather shows up or a Manny Pacquiao shows up. And Manny hasn't officially retired yet. There are names that jump off that you don't even think about it, that you vote. And year after year, those all get sliced away depending on who's retiring. And some years are, frankly, like this year, the winners were deserving. But there were no obvious choices for a lot of us who looked at that ballot.
It's kind of like there's a job.
There were 10 decent choices. And then it comes down to personal criteria. And we as voters do need to have, in our minds what we're looking for and what defines. But there is no written rubric for us to follow, like grading.
To me, it's kind of like there's a job opening and you could only go by whoever applies, right? So who applies to it, and it's who's on the list. I get
that's
it.
perfectly put.
Very well stated. Yeah. Absolutely.
So if you're going to vote on 5, and Wilder happens to be one of the top 5, you're going to vote for him. And in the end, if he's top 3, he gets in. Right.
Well, here's the thing. So say you got Fury, Usyk, Joshua, and you got Wilder. So that's 4, and then you got, I don't know, say who else is going to be on there? Who else could you put on there at that time? Maybe
get a Parker later on.
Yeah, maybe if you put Parker on that same thing. So then you have, I don't know. I mean,
but you're voting against 17, maybe 18 weight divisions, right down the road. The cream gets pulled off. You're not measuring heavyweight against heavyweight.
No.
Gail, how many years before you're removed from the list?
3.
Is it 3 or 5?
Removed from the list?
No, like when you're no longer eligible. Like is it like 10 years?
Quite some time. You get quite a few shots at it. I'll look that up and get back to you. I will also say this. I do believe the voting panel is way too U.S. centric. We do not have enough diverse voters in other countries or diverse in general from gender to background to age is a problem. And we need to diversify the voting pool. We really do.
You don't even have Chris Eubank or Nigel Benn in there. I know they was up for.
They were.
They're not in the Hall of Fame.
No, but they was up
they
for
should,
time. But
both of them should definitely be in.
Yeah,
my
I
opinion.
will say there was a lot of
they was up
internal discussion about Nigel Benn, who
But
did not make it.
Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank.
How many fighters do you vote in? 5, Gail, per ballot?
You vote for 5. The top 3 get in. If there is a tie, 3, 4, 5, if the 4th voter gets 80% of the vote, there will be a 4th in the modern men category.
How many times were you at a loss sometimes? You were sitting there saying, Jesus.
All the time. All the time.
I got 3, but what is my last 2 going to be?
Right. Honestly, that's exactly what happens. Is usually there's 1 or 2 that are fairly easy. And then you know, I'm one of those people that frequently votes by elimination. It's like, no, not this group. No, I've got it. You know, I get the no's all out of the way, and then I end up with 10. And then I have the obvious choices, and then you've got 8. Maybe you quickly take the bottom 3 or 4 off, and then there's 3 or 4 names you just stare at. You go back through the record. Maybe you go back and look for a few fights on YouTube to remind yourself, you know, what you're voting for. And then, you know, maybe you talk to a few other people, and then you make that vote. And I do as much research as I can, mainly to refresh my memory, because some of these fighters have really faded for me, and I need to remind myself in their era, you know, what was their performance like? Not measured against today, and not measured against who they could have fought but didn't. But how did they perform in the context of the era they were in, and against that list of names? Now, while we're moving on, I will actually check and let you all know in the chat how long it takes before someone cycles off if they don't vote it in.
Yeah, I guess what I was saying is it's like he's going to get in eventually. Like, because it's so many years, and it's they know they're going to recognize the name, and there's going to be some years where maybe there's not a lot of people retiring that are, you know, obvious ones. Maybe, I don't know, but first ballot probably not, but he'll get in.
I mean, Roy Jones Jr. and he got in what 2020, 2021. You know, look how that took ages for him to get in. There's people in the Hall of Fame that shouldn't even be in there, and there's people that should be in there that are not. So it's just, to me, it's just subjective.
I think Roy was first ballot, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, well,
he was just fighting old. He was.
Yeah, you know why though? Because he kept coming out of retirement. That's why.
Yeah, you got to be retired for about 3 years, right? Yeah. I know. I just think it's starting to lose its credibility. The Hall of Fame. If you're just going to be putting anyone in just because they had 10 title defenses or they had 8 title defenses against low level opposition, or, you know, you got. I thought.
How low level was it though?
It was low level, very low level. You know.
When you say low level, like these were still guys in the top 20. Like,
no, they wasn't. What? And he fought people.
I'm pretty sure they were.
I didn't. He did title defenses that people weren't.
It's not a deep division, is what I'm arguing. It's not a deep division. There's not a lot of we're not in the 70s. There's not enough Joe Frazier's out there.
No, it was deep enough to do title defenses with people that were rated above the top 200. Wilder did title defenses with people that weren't even rated in the top 200.
He was going to fight Povetkin popped dirty. That's why that fight didn't happen.
Anthony Joshua still fought him. Other people still fought him.
I understand that, but I'm just like, there was that, but that wasn't his fault. That didn't happen. That was Povetkin's fault.
No, because Povetkin in the end, he got cleared for that because the substance that was on it literally just came on the ban thing. So when they analyzed that, they was actually like,
no. I'm not. Okay, but that's not Wilder's fault. Like is what I'm saying. By the time they did all that, you know what I mean?
I mean, he could have rescheduled it. Wilder did. Come on, stop.
Let's
not make excuses for Wilder fighting people in the top 300 and a lot of unranked fighters.
I don't think he fought guys in the top 300.
Yeah, he did.
When he was the champion.
Yeah, he did. I did a whole. Me and
300 on, like, based on what though? Like what are we ranked?
They wasn't ranked. Like there was some. Like even when he fought Bermain Stavern for the rematch, you know.
So you're talking about like the Molinas, the Washingtons, right?
When he fought Bermain Stavern for the rematch, you know, when he first fought Bermain Stavern, Bermain Stavern was ranked number 4. When he picked to rematch Bermain Stavern was unranked. Everybody do your research because this is where I excel in this guy's resume. Bermain Stavern was unranked. Wilder has fought the most unranked fighters as a heavyweight champion ever.
But when you say rank, Lady Jan, what ranking are you using?
No, meaning they're not the best. You've got So you've got
But
one.
are you talking about the ring ranking, or talking about the BBA rankings, or
even in there? Like you've got fighters are ranked like who's the best in the world. So you've got
no?
like
What I'm trying to get at.
yeah. So they wasn't
You said
ranked.
Severn was number 4. Number 4 to who? Like he was a WBC champion.
Yeah, I mean, but he was number 4 in the ring. He was ranked number 4.
In the ring. Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But what you've got is 100 to top 100. You've got the top 500 in the world of heavyweights that are ranked. Like even like so, you've got the top 10 who are ring ranked, and then it goes all the way down and down to.
I guess what I'm trying to say is this. Here's all I'm trying to say.
He just was fighting no one.
Like to me, 10 title defenses is still 10 title defenses. Just like we could look. Well, that's your opinion, but we could critique Kalazagi's title defenses, B-Hop's title defenses. You still got to do that X amount of times, right? Against it is what it is. It's still. I'm not saying that gets you in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying by itself. I'm just saying it is an accomplishment.
I mean, no, it's not.
To do that.
That's your opinion, but no, it's not because there's a lot of champions.
And a lot of those guys, like Brazil, like Joshua fought Brazil too.
On his like 12th, 13th fight.
He was a champion already, wasn't he?
When he fought Eric Molina, wasn't a champ. I think Brazil. I think maybe he. I think he was. He did 2 title voluntaries, which was Andy Ruiz and Carlos Takam. All the rest were top 10 ranked, ring ranked, by the way. So that's what I do. I do resume and deep dives. That's just my speciality.
So in the end, I think it's all going to be opinion anyway. But
I just would like to know the criteria. I just think it should be based on.
I don't think Wilder getting the Hall of Fame is like a horrible thing. I just don't. It's my opinion. Like if he gets in.
I promise you that BoxRec algorithm activity rankings are not in the voters' minds when they vote. Again, context matters. The number of people you can vote for matters. It is not all one division. There are many different eras. By the way, for those wondering, I put this in the chat, but for those not reading that part, the current modern male and female fighter categories only need to be retired 3 years. They cycle off after not making it after 10 voting cycles. 10 years.
Okay. 10 years. That's a decade. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? I'll just end it with this.
30 shots at it. 30 chances.
I'll just say if I don't think Wilder getting in it's gonna make it bad or it's a horrible thing for the Hall of Fame. I just don't. I just don't.
I mean, first ballot.
It's not like they're getting Dillian White in. Like you know what I mean? It's a guy that actually won the title. Like you know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that have won the title that are not in the Hall of Fame.
But they didn't have 10 title defenses. We're gonna move on. Let's go to just a quick take here. Bivol Beterbiev announced after Bivol's TKO victory. What are your thoughts on this matchup here? It's supposed to happen later this year, Babe.
I think it's a great fight. I've always been excited for it. Once again, it's another great clash of styles. My only concern, though, is Beterbiev's like continuously getting injured and fights are getting postponed. So that's in the back of my mind. I'm starting to think of that a little bit more than I did before because I've always thought Beterbiev would win this fight. I always thought that he would stop Bivol late, and I always thought the fight would play out sort of like how the Vosdick Beterbiev fight played out because, you know, that constant pressure of Beterbiev and those short, crisp punches and just him being such a heavy-handed guy. I just always favored Beterbiev, but I still am favoring Beterbiev, but there is something in the back of my mind saying, you know, what's going on with all these injuries? Is their body breaking down for Beterbiev? Is that age starting to catch up with him? Is the wear and tear catching up with them? Those hard training camps, those sparring sessions. You know, when he tore his meniscus, it's not a, you know, a minor injury at all. I mean, I've torn meniscus in both knees, and it's kind of painful, and it does kind of limit you. You're never really the same after that. So we'll see what happens. But I'm still going to ride with Beterbiev.
Okay. So the wheels fall off. Gotcha. All right. Lyndon, what do you think of this matchup?
Well, let's hope it actually happens. I mean, what is it, October the 12th? They're looking at it the moment. So, yeah, look, I was impressed with Bivol the other day. I thought he did the job. Zinad was a credible opponent. I know he was relatively unknown, but I thought he did pretty well. He actually fought here in Australia only about 6 weeks ago, I think, did Zinad. But, you know, I like the fight. Hopefully it'll happen. Hopefully, I've never had a meniscus injury myself, but hopefully it's all on track and he heals very well and we get that fight in October. As for the fight itself, look, I'm still going to stick with Bivol. I know Beterbiev is just a beast. He's made of iron, I think, but I just think Bivol's got all the tools to be able to counter that. And he just looks so good yet on Saturday your time, Sunday our time, and just really impressed with the way he was able to end it within about 20 seconds. Up to them, it was a pretty good fight. So no, I can't wait. And for me, I think Bivol wins that fight on points.
All right, Gail, what are your thoughts here?
Lyndon, you're right on target. A torn meniscus in the knee is no joke. And when you are closing it on 40 and have to rehab that after a long, hard career, that is a tall order. And it was not that long ago. Frankly, I'm shocked that this is already back on the calendar for October. That is quick. Bivol is younger, fresher, and far more mobile. He will do exactly what he did to Canelo Alvarez. He will stay clear of the power. He can get in, get out. He'll look a hell of a lot busier. He can't make a mistake. But so far, we've kept saying that about him against big punchers, and he hasn't. He shows he can take a shot, too. He has taken a few nasty shots in his career. Beterbiev has a ton of power, no doubt about it. But he has to put himself in position to land the punch against an opponent he can catch, and he has to be in position to leverage all his power, which starts at the feet for a true power puncher. He's going to have a hard time with that knee injury. I am concerned about that, and I think Bivol will win this, and I think he will, frankly, win it fairly handily. I don't expect it to be a chiller thriller fight, but that's not what Bivol is about. This last fight, he had the opportunity to, go to town on an opponent that just simply was overmatched, and so he did so. But he's made it very clear he does only what he needs to do to win, and that's it. And he says it is ridiculous to make more effort to win a fight than necessary. And that's why he's still so fresh at this stage of his career. He's taken so little damage.
Lady Chan, your early thoughts on this matchup. Undisputed, 175.
Does it happen? I'm not sure if that even happens, but I've always got Bivol. I've always had Bivol to beat Beterbiev. Like Beeb said, meniscus, that takes a lot of physio to heal from. So if they're giving it, saying that the fight's going to happen, when did they say? October?
Mm-hmm.
October 12th.
Yeah. I mean, that seems very unrealistic. But if he does heal, are you going to say that's the best Beterbiev? He's probably going to have a little bit of a limp. Maybe we'll notice it. We've seen fighters that have had knee injuries, and Jose Benavidez was one of them. He got shot and wore a knee brace the whole time when he fought, always limped when he fought. So, I mean, is it going to be the best Beterbiev? It's whatever. Hopefully it does happen. If not, you're going to just have to strip the dude of his belts, unfortunately, because you can't hold up a division. You just can't. Bivol's 3. I think they've been waiting for years, but I blame them all. They all had time to unify within the last 6-7 years of being champions. Beterbiev just took a couple belts, or the Joe Smith Jr. and all of that. But I mean, they all had the opportunity to do this. So now it's because of the Saudi money. I guess that's why it's pushed to happen, because Bob Arum was never going to team up with Matchroom to do this fight. He already came out on record, said he had no he had no plans to do so. So I guess if it just doesn't happen, it's a great fight, man. It was disappointing that it wasn't on the 5v5. But yeah, I love it. If it happens, I love it, regardless of what type of Beterbiev you get. But it just seems like his body's breaking down. The dude's 40. And yeah, but let's just see.
Yeah, I'm not like issues with his knee surgery. It's not the first surgery he's had, and he's in a fight a mover, a guy who can move, and like Bivol with that speed and that accuracy. I got my money's on Bivol. Like that's it. Shout out to the odds makers that gave negative odds for both guys right now. Like I don't know what that's about, but whatever. Right? Just make better beef. Make him the favorite. I dare you. You know that's all. I think Bivol wins that fight. It's my opinion. I think he wins like an 8-4 type decision. So if it even happens, I don't know. I keep hearing about how strong he is, but he looks a little brittle right now. Can't even make it to fight night. I got Bivol all day. All right. One last thing, guys. Top Rank Boxing this weekend. Now I was telling Beeb, like we're kind of like right now we're in this like a place where one weekend we're getting this big, massive like Saudi card. It's like all these great fights, and then the next week's like a whimper. It's just like kind of like what we used to get before the Saudis came around, and it's just like, yeah, Taylor Catterall, woo, you know, and then 5-on-5, and then woo, yeah, we're back at the Garden Theater, cool. Like, you know, it's just I kind of wish we had the Saudi cards every weekend. But we can't have it all. All right. So, Puerto Rican prospect Xander Zayas, if you still want to call him a prospect, or is he a contender now? Facing a big step up, in my opinion, a veteran and former WBO champion Patrick Teixeira, who has wins over like Adamas. For those that don't remember, he lost the belt to the Argentine guy. What's his name?
Castaño,
my bad. I couldn't remember his name. So Castaño, who ended up losing it in an undisputed fight to Jermell Charlo. Okay, Castaño's been so inactive, I forgot his name. Like, what's he doing?
Okay.
Like, I don't know.
I forget it sometimes too.
You know what I mean? But so Xander Zayas, step up, Garden Theater, Puerto Rican. I think that's a perfect spot to put it. It looks like Top Rank is saying this is our guy. I saw LeBron just recently. He signed with Matchroom. I think Top Rank saying this is our dude. This is our future Puerto Rican star right here. Not Berlanga. They gave him away. They're like, go over there. Go over there. Right? They believe in Xander Zayas, I think. And I think this is a move. It's an interesting fight. It's fair to say Teixeira's on the way down, but hey, sometimes these veterans pull something out of a hat. Okay. Lady Chen, what do you think of this matchup? Do you think Xander pulls away, gets the W, or do you think the veteran pulls it off?
Sorry, who's Xander Zayas fighting?
He's fighting Patrick Teixeira, sorry.
Oh, I have no clue. I didn't know anything about this. I saw that. Did you say he's been signed to Matchroom, Xander?
No. That's LeBron.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because he's with Bob, right? Xander.
100% Top Rank Boxing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know much about all of this, so I can't really comment because I don't really comment on things that I don't know. Sorry.
Okay,
No.
that's fair enough. All right,
Yeah.
Joe Beeb, talk to us. Is this a bit too much, or is this the right step up here?
Right place, right time. I think. I think just Teixeira would be just enough of a test, but I don't think Teixeira will win the fight. But I think it's just the right level at this particular time. I think he's still crafty. He'll give him rounds. He'll be hard to get out of there. It's not to say that he won't stop him late, but he can move a bit, and he's crafty, and he's got the experience. So he'll make Xander have to dig deep into his bag of tricks. He won't just run over Teixeira. So I'm expecting a pretty intriguing fight, and it could go the distance, but I'm kind of leaning towards a later stoppage, and I think Xander will get him out of there eventually. Okay. But it's not going to be easy.
All right. Lyndon, Xander Zayas stepping up against former world champion Patrick Teixeira. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think there's probably a reason why they've put this fight together. Obviously, Zayas is the future, and they're obviously going to invest a lot into him. So I think it's a good matchup at the right time. I think it's a competitive fight. But as I said, I don't think they would match Zayas up with him if with is it Teixeira? It's my Australian accent. I can never get it right. Teixeira.
Teixeira.
Teixeira. Brazilian. Teixeira.
Okay, I always get put up with the way I pronounce them, especially the Russian names. But no, I think, as I said, good matchup at the right time, and I think Zayas maybe late round stoppage, if not by unanimous decision.
All right. Gail from NYFights.com. Zayas. I say Teixeira. I'm probably saying it all wrong, but maybe because I'm from Texas. I don't know. Maybe I just saw it that way. But anyway, what do you think of the matchup?
Hey, fair enough. Those of us who, speak border Spanish, you see that Portuguese names and we're all messed up by it. Shame on us. Teixeira, Patrick Teixeira. Patrick Teixeira has been fighting in Brazil, kind of rehabbing himself after losing a fight in Russia to Magomed Kurbanov. So that was his third loss in a row, including the Castano loss, which was a decision. But I mean, he actually absolutely got crushed like a bug by Castano. I mean, really wide cards. And that was it was in the tail end of the pandemic, as I recall, 2021. So, he licked his wounds. He got some 8-rounders and 10-rounders in Brazil. So he's coming back. So he'll be very serviceable. He will give Xander rounds. That's what he's there for. It serves these developing fighters no good to get these first-round knockouts, Edgar Berlanga. So Top Rank is not making that mistake with Zayas. So they'll make him work for it. That's what he should do. They are going to keep an eye on him. Part of the reason that Berlanga is no longer with Top Rank is, they will only tolerate a diva so long, and it is in inverse proportion to their talent. So these young guys start feeling themselves or getting in trouble or pissing people off or being difficult or demanding. They'll put up with it if you've got the talent, you're putting the butts in the seats, and the people are becoming willing to buy to see you. So that's a test for Zayas too. Is he doing all the right things? And this week so far, he's making a lot of public appearances. He's done some charity distributions. He's good on camera. He's a good interview. He needs to keep being that way. He's starting to feel himself a little bit, and that's okay. I mean, you do need some of that as a young developing fighter as you move up. So this is perfect matchmaking. Honestly, nobody matchmakes better in general than Top Rank. They got their butt paddled a couple weekends ago with Navarrete and Santillan, but for the most part, they match the guys with the right fighters at the right time. And Teixeira's way past his best, but we are not going to see a Deontay Wilder type of performance out of him. He will absolutely come to fight, and he'll make Zayas work for it. But Zayas should get him. I think it will be an attrition-style stoppage in the later rounds.
Yeah, I like the stoppage in this fight. Zayas has gone decision, but those were 8-rounders, 6-rounders, 4-rounders. In his 10-round fights, he has stopped the opponents. And Teixeira got stopped about 2 or 3 fights ago. So I think they know what they're doing here. And I believe Xander Zayas, who sometimes maybe is a little patient. I know there's people out there like Nando that don't believe in him. It's all good. But this is a fight that I think it's a step up. It's a fight at the right time. It's in the Garden Theater. It's in the right place. And I think hopefully it starts growing a fan base there. I would like to, at some point, see Xander Zayas versus Virgil Ortiz. I think that's a great matchup sometime in the future. I like to see Xander Zayas, if he gets there at some point, against a Tim Tszyu. Or maybe Tim Tszyu will be at middleweight by then. But maybe a Xander Zayas against Nikita Tszyu in a couple of years. You never know. So with that said,
they might all be at middleweight or super middleweight by then.
Yeah, that's right. They're big boys for sure. So with that said, I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Shout out to Lady Chan. Shout out to Lyndon, Gail, Joe, everybody in the chat. We are out of here. Peace. Keep it boxing.
Yeah.
Good day.